My name is Anya. I died sweaty, heartbroken, and discarded on a street corner, all for a man named Ethan. But what if death isn't the end? What if you get a second chance to rewrite the moment that destroyed you? This is the story of how I became the youngest female millionaire in Shang Jing, and the man who betrayed me found out that my heart wasn't so easily manipulated twice. Ethan was a rising star in the technology field, shining with a net worth of hundreds of millions. In college, Ethan's only relative was killed in a car accident. Because I liked him, I took 3 part-time jobs a day to support his studies and gave up my postgraduate recommendation opportunity to him. When he returned from studying abroad, he was accompanied by a beautiful dancer. He publicly declared, "Chloe and I have been together since college." It was with her financial support that I was able to go to college. Ethan blamed me for forcing him to study and thus making him miss the chance to pursue his goddess. He completely erased all my contributions and care for him over the years. Everyone was singing the praises of their great love and admiring Chloe's dedication to him. Reborn in this life, I gave up the idea of helping others and respected the fates of others. I became the youngest female millionaire in Shang Jing, and Ethan begged me to finance him. I had a secret crush on Ethan for many years, which was known to all my classmates. Ethan came from a single-parent family. His mother brought him up by selling waste and supported his studies in this way. Ethan often skipped breakfast, so I insisted on waiting at the bottom of the dormitory building every day to bring him breakfast. He took my love for granted, and I thought that by doing so he had accepted me. Until one day his mother was accidentally hit by a car while collecting scraps. The driver fled the scene after the accident, and she died before she could be rescued. He held my hand and cried, "Anya, I only have you now. Please don't leave me." Seeing him crying while hugging me, I couldn't help but feel sad too. He said that he couldn't let his studies suffer because of part-time jobs, so I took 3 part-time jobs. I delivered takeout during the day, worked part-time in the cafeteria at noon, and tutored in the evening. Ethan was too proud to apply for a grant. All his living expenses and tuition fees were earned by me through working. When he went abroad to study, I sent him living expenses on time every month. When he returned from studying abroad and became a rising star in the technology field in Shang Jing, I was flustered when I saw the beautiful dancer beside him. Ethan warned me, "Anya, don't show up. Don't let others know that you were my girlfriend in college." He said in front of the media, "Chloe, thank you for staying with me persistently when I was in college. Chloe is a very nice girl. It was with her financial support that I can be where I am today." Looking at the seemingly perfect couple surrounded by the media, dressed in beautiful suits and gowns, everyone was sighing over their wonderful love. Then I looked at myself, sweating profusely and carrying takeout that was about to be delivered. I didn't dare to linger as I was already over time for the delivery. But on my way to deliver the takeout, I died in a car accident. Before I died, I saw Ethan's haughty face. His assistant asked him, "President Ethan, should we call the police?" Ethan squatted down, felt my breath with his fingers, and looked at me with disgust. "No need. It's just a takeout delivery person. If they're dead, they're dead." His eyes were gloomy. "It's just as well that they're dead. Such a person is a stain on my life." When I opened my eyes again, I was back in college. Ethan was always late, even when I brought him breakfast. He often made me wait for hours downstairs. At this time, I was carrying breakfast downstairs in Ethan's dormitory building. Thank goodness I was reincarnated. Without hesitation, I turned around and stuffed the breakfast in my hand into my mouth. I went back to the dormitory and my roommate joked, "Aren't you going to be a bootlicker today?" I wasn't angry. In my previous life, I was too stupid. Because my parents favored sons over daughters, they often abused me, drove me out of the house, whipped me with long bamboo sticks in front of the neighbors, tore my clothes and scolded me, "Useless thing, get married early." At that time, Ethan put his coat on me and gently asked me, "Are you okay, classmate?" He saved me. I almost exposed myself in front of everyone just because Ethan gave me a little warmth. I was devoted to him wholeheartedly. Back in the dormitory, I buried myself in my studies. In this life, I accepted that there really were parents who didn't love their children in the world, and I also saw Ethan clearly. In the evening, I received a call from Ethan. He was crying bitterly on the phone. "Anya, could you come over here? My mother had a car accident." I hung up the phone and said, "Call the ambulance and the police." Ethan said to me in an imperative tone, "Come here within 10 minutes. In my previous life, upon hearing his call, I rushed over without delay. This time I just hung up the phone directly. My roommate Maya looked at me doubtfully. Whose call was it? I smiled and said, it was a sales call. It's okay. When I woke up it was already bright. It had rained all night last night. The next day at school I saw Ethan with dark circles under his eyes. He held my hand and looked at me with displeasure. Why didn't you come to see me last night? Didn't I call you? I smiled indifferently. I know. I turned around to leave and Ethan shouted loudly to stop me. Anya, don't you like me? I'll give you a chance. If you pass my test I'll be with you. If you miss it you won't have another chance. All the classmates looked over. I slapped his hand away. Thank you so much. Keep such a good opportunity for yourself. You're so excellent. Just digest it by yourself, admire yourself. He looked at me with an ugly expression, his eyes full of confusion. The classmates around also looked a bit shocked. Maya walked up to me, reached out and touched my forehead. You don't have a fever either? After being Ethan's bootlicker for 3 years, Maya was a bit unaccustomed to the new me. Anya, if you have any difficulties, tell us. Don't hide them. I smiled and said, I'm really okay. I've just come to my senses. Back in the dormitory, I received a text message from Ethan. My mother died in a car accident. There will be no one to give me living expenses in the future. I didn't reply to him. When I was working part-time in the cafeteria, I ran into Ethan. Ethan was spending money extravagantly, laughing and joking with his buddies while putting his arms around their shoulders. Brothers, order whatever you want. I'll treat you. His few cronies didn't know the real situation of his family. They thought he was the son of a wealthy family, so they ordered all expensive meat dishes. One of his buddies jokingly asked, Hey, isn't this part-time worker your girlfriend? Ethan immediately darkened his face and looked unhappy. Don't talk nonsense, okay? Anya and I are just classmates. Another buddy immediately said, Our Ethan is so handsome. Only Chloe from the dance major next door is worthy of him. When it came to Chloe, Ethan's expression softened a bit. I gave them a cold look. After the part-time job ended, Ethan was waiting at the entrance of the cafeteria. He came up to me and held my hand. Anya, I'm out of living expenses this month. Give me some money. I shook off his hand. You have hands and feet. If you don't have money, then go to work. What does it have to do with me? Ethan looked at me in disbelief. Aren't you working part-time in the cafeteria for me? My mother has passed away. Can't you be more sensible? I don't have any money now. I sneered and walked away from him. Ethan was fair and good-looking and there were quite a few girls who liked him. I worked part-time because I had planned to continue my studies, but he thought I was doing it for him. Back in the dormitory, I started studying and tried to understand all the knowledge points that I didn't understand today. I went to the counselor's office. The counselor looked at me with satisfaction. Anya, among our major you have the strongest ability. Your comprehensive assessment score is the first and your average score is also the first. The school has a postgraduate recommendation quota. Here, take these materials back and fill them out. Think it over and hand them back to me. Looking at these materials, I said happily, Thank you, teacher. Walking out of the office, I almost burst into tears. I was really happy. For the college entrance examination, I spent countless days and nights doing countless questions before I managed to make a way out among thousands of senior high school students. In college, I studied hard for 4 years, but because I believed in love, I gave up the postgraduate recommendation quota to Ethan. He returned to the country gloriously with the beautiful dancer, while I became a takeout delivery girl. Before the age of 18, I tried my best to run out of the small town to escape my original family. That coat made me mistakenly think that Ethan was the person sent by heaven to love me, but I never thought that the so-called love was all an abyss. All occupations are base. Only book learning is exalted. In my previous life, the person I was most sorry for was myself, who had tried so hard to change my fate through studying. Before the age of 18, I liked a man so much that I lost myself. It was the girl who had suffered cold shoulders in the small town who was stabbed at. In this life, I will definitely love myself well. Walking around the corner, I heard a harsh and noisy voice. Ethan, is it true the counselor said that only Anya in our class has the postgraduate recommendation quota? Ethan said with certainty, Believe me, she will definitely give the opportunity to me. A group of people laughed. Believe Ethan. Didn't we even bet on it before? This girl will definitely fall in love with Ethan just because he put a coat on her. I took a detour with the materials in my arms. It wasn't that I was afraid of him, but that I didn't want to get involved with these people. I just wanted to study hard. When I walked to the entrance, it was bright outside. I grasped that warm and bright light. After filling out the materials, I was ready to go to the counselor's office to submit them. There was a voice behind me calling me, Anya. Looking back, I saw a young man standing in the light. There was a wound on his face with some drops of blood. Reese was the pride of our school with good grades and a good family background. Therefore, Ethan had always been unhappy with him. He often complained about Reese to me behind his back. His breathing was a bit unstable. It seemed that he had run over here. His voice was clear and cold. Anya, give me the materials. I hid the materials behind me in fear. What for? Are you going to give up the postgraduate recommendation quota for that scumbag Ethan? Are you stupid? Can't you see clearly? Such an important thing in life, how can you be so casual about it? I looked at him in confusion. I'm not giving up. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at me. Let me have a look. I'll accompany you to the office. I looked at him doubtfully until I confirmed that I was going to the office to submit the postgraduate recommendation materials. Then he left with relief. A week later, my postgraduate recommendation was confirmed. The counselor announced it to all the classmates in the class. Maya was happy for me. She whispered in my ear, Anya, you're so great. I looked down at the postgraduate recommendation letter and smiled. After class, Ethan blocked my way. What's going on? You were supposed to give up the postgraduate recommendation quota. That quota was supposed to be mine. Anya, what on earth are you doing? I sneered. I'm the one who got the postgraduate recommendation. What does it have to do with you? I'm the first in comprehensive assessment and average score. Do you have any doubts? Ethan muttered to himself, impossible, impossible. You clearly gave me the opportunity to take the postgraduate entrance examination, and that's how I could go abroad. I smiled. It seems that Ethan has also been reborn. He doesn't know that I've also come back from being reborn. The classmates dispersed and Maya and I were about to go back to the dormitory. A clear voice came from above. Reese had messy hair like a chicken coop, and the light from outside the window fell on the swirl on the top of his head. He looked at me lazily and said, finally become smarter. I looked at the person in front of me. In my previous life, no matter how much Ethan hated Reese, he could never reach Reese's level. Ethan often said, that Reese is just from a better family. If his family was ordinary, he would be nothing special. Reese started his business without relying on his family. When he returned to China to develop, he even refused to take over the business of the Reese family. After saying this, Reese left. Maya looked at me in surprise and said, damn Anya, when did you get together with Reese? I glared at Maya and said, what do you mean by get together? Maya stared blankly at his back and said, Reese is a celebrity in our school. He has good grades, a good family background, and is good looking. He's much better than that Phoenix man, Ethan. Reese suddenly barged into my life. After that, he often came to talk to me. He was notoriously taciturn at school. There were many girls who had a crush on him, but he ignored them, so the girls didn't dare to strike up a conversation with him. Maya smiled and whispered in my ear, does he like you? I frowned. I thought about it a lot and decided to have a good chat with Reese. I invited Reese to meet at a coffee shop and brought a document I had written. In the coffee shop, he arrived much earlier than me. I sat down and took a deep breath to boost my courage. Reese saw how nervous I was. He caught sight of the white paper in my hand, took a sip of coffee and leaned lazily on the chair saying, a love letter? Are you going to confess your love to me? I'm not mentally prepared yet. Instantly my face turned red. Why did he make all kinds of jokes like this? He was nothing like the taciturn person others described. Because he was actually right, he saw the pink envelope in the file bag, which was obviously a love letter. However, the love letter wasn't mine. The document was. I handed the pink love letter to him and said, here. A junior girl asked me to give this to you just now. Reese casually lifted his eyelids and looked at me. If it's not from you, then I won't accept it. This is what I'm giving you. I showed him the white document. The document contained my plans for software development and my views on the future trend of the economic situation. Having a second chance at life, I want to seize the opportunities of the times. Big data is the driving force for future development, And these are my views on the future development of the internet. Reese is very good at computer science. He can handle coding and software development. Even the first sum of money for his business startup was earned through internet-related work. I know my strength and also understand what Reese is good at, so collaborating with Reese is a combination of two strong forces. He looked at the document with a serious expression. After reading it, he raised his head and looked at me. I was a bit nervous. It's not easy to make him trust that I can achieve these. Moreover, Reese is a smart person. By chance we met Ethan in the coffee shop. He was pulling a group of people for a gathering. He ordered the most expensive little cakes and the signature drinks of the coffee shop. He clearly didn't have money but still dared to consume recklessly and pretend to be a big spender in front of his friends. Seeing that Reese and I were sitting in the corner, he walked over with his coffee with a sarcastic tone. "Oh, isn't Master Reese the richest in his family? Why don't you even dare to order a small cake? And you, Anya, you've changed your crush. Seems that your feelings are so fickle. Anya, I'll give you a chance. Pour this cup of coffee on Reese and I'll be with you." I smiled at Ethan, then picked up the water in front of me and stood up. Ethan thought I was really going to pour water on Reese and showed a satisfied smile on his face. Reese also watched with interest to see what I would do next. I quickly poured the water on Ethan's face. Before Ethan could react, the water was already flowing down his face. "It's so hot. I think you're not thinking clearly, so I'll cool you down. Stop saying everywhere that I like you, okay? I was blind before, but now I can see clearly." Vaguely, I heard some sarcastic whispers from Ethan's friends at their table, and Ethan looked embarrassed. I picked up the document and took Reese's hand and walked out. After walking for a while, we both stopped. Reese looked at me. His eyes were deep, and his dark pupils made it impossible to figure out what he was thinking. "You've changed." I was a bit surprised to hear his words. It was as if he knew me very well. We had been classmates in college for several years, but it was only when we were about to graduate that we got to know each other. I asked him, "In what way have I changed?" He smiled and looked at me with the corners of his eyes raised. "Your personality, and you don't like Ethan anymore." I shrugged indifferently. "I don't like him anymore. He's not worth it." He walked me to the downstairs of the dormitory. I turned around to go in, but he stopped me. "Anya." His voice was clear. The hot wind in the air carried his voice into my ears. It seemed to give a thumping feeling to my heart. "I think your ideas are great. Let's cooperate." Joy flashed in my eyes and I said, "See you tomorrow." I walked into the dormitory building with cheerful steps. Looking up, I saw Maya on the upper floor looking at me through binoculars. Back in the dormitory, Maya looked at me with a mysterious and gossipy look. "Tell me the truth." I looked at Maya blankly. "Tell you what? Did you and Reese get together?" I shook my head. "We did succeed in something." A sharp popping sound came to my ears. "Damn, you managed to win over this hard-to-get guy so easily. Awesome girl." I grabbed the document in my hand. "It's not that we got together. It's that our cooperation was successful. We're not in a relationship." Maya said, "Okay. Since I stopped liking Ethan, my life has become colorful, and I've had more time to pay attention to the beautiful things around me." The next day, Ethan appeared on the confession wall. He was holding a bouquet of roses and got down on one knee in front of Chloe. In the video, Chloe looked surprised and the people around were shouting, "Get together! Get together! Get together!" Chloe showed a shy smile and took the flowers from Ethan's hands. Ethan shouted, "Chloe, would you like to be with me?" Chloe said no in public. They hugged each other. This video was sent to me privately by Ethan. This video went viral on the internet. When I went to school, Ethan and Reese were standing downstairs in the dormitory. Ethan was there waiting for Chloe at the girls' dormitory building. I didn't know why Reese was there. I pretended not to see Ethan and walked away. Ethan, however, grabbed my hand and whispered in my ear, "Don't you just like Reese's money? In 3 years I'll be among the top 10 richest people in Shang Jing. At that time, even if you beg me on your knees, I won't pay attention to you." I slightly curled the corners of my mouth and smiled. He really thought that a person like him who didn't study hard could continue his studies and succeed. Reese walked up to me looking a bit unhappy. I walked to the classroom with Reese. He looked at me with a misty look in his eyes and his voice actually sounded a bit aggrieved. "Do you still like him?" I said, I don't like him anymore." Hearing this, he suddenly smiled. After class in the classroom, Reese invited me to have lunch in the cafeteria. He said we could talk about the business startup. Ethan didn't come to class all morning. I heard that he had been waiting for Chloe downstairs at the girls' dormitory building for the whole morning. In the following weeks, Ethan often skipped classes. I heard that he skipped classes and followed Chloe around every day. The teacher was very angry and said, "If anyone is as crazy about dating as a certain classmate, you'd better drop out of school as soon as possible. Whoever is in the same dormitory as that certain classmate, tell him that if he doesn't come to class, he'll directly fail the course." Even so, Ethan still didn't come to class. He thought that the diploma wasn't important at all. Instead, he even laughed at those of us who went to class on time and didn't skip classes, saying, "What's the big deal going to class every day? It's better to have a relationship. Anyway, I can become a new tech tycoon in Shang Jing in the future." It seems that Ethan, having a second chance at life, thinks that his achievements in the previous life were destined and not the result of hard work. I stayed with Reese every day, but not for a relationship. It was for the school's innovation and entrepreneurship competition. If we won first place in this competition, the school would provide a sum of startup funds. I looked at Reese a bit puzzled. He could directly go to work in the Reese family group, so why was he still working so hard? Reese had excellent grades and a wealthy family background. He could have lived an easy life. When I went to the toilet, I accidentally overheard the conversation between Reese and his brother. "Brother, why are you working so hard? Your family can provide you with startup funds. There's only a little money in the entrepreneurship competition." Reese said, "It feels better to work hard with her. The money provided by parents comes too easily and makes one slack off." I went back to my seat and we started working on the computer again. He was responsible for writing code and software development. I was responsible for collecting information on the internet situation and designing the software layout. Ethan often showed a sarcastic expression when passing by us. He thought he would be a rich person in the future, so he started to look down on classmates who studied seriously. It's really a turn of fortune. Before, I used to wait downstairs at the boys' dormitory building to bring breakfast to Ethan every day. Now he waits downstairs at the dormitory building to bring food to Chloe every day. He waits downstairs regardless of wind or rain. Chloe frowned and blamed him. "It's already cold. What can I eat? Can't you be more careful?" Before the innovation conference, I took a deep breath and was a bit nervous. I smelled a faint mint fragrance, which was like the smell on Reese. It seemed that his presence made people feel at ease. He looked into my eyes and said, "Just think of everything. Everyone in the audience is potatoes and you won't be nervous." Reese was trying to relieve my nervousness. He said, "When you think you can't do it, just stand on the sidewalk. Then you'll be a passerby." We looked at each other and laughed. After hearing his words, my nervousness disappeared instantly. On the stage, we cooperated very well. When we got off the stage, he touched my head. The stage lights shone on half of his face, making him look gentle. "You were great." I replied, "You too." We sat in the audience waiting for the results to be announced. As expected, we won the funds. I smiled with my eyes curving into crescent shapes. I felt a scorching gaze beside me. I turned my head cautiously. I saw Reese looking at me with burning eyes. For an instant, my heartbeat missed a beat. The smile in his eyes was casual, as if he didn't feel the slightest bit of embarrassment at being caught peeking at me. He still looked straight into my eyes frankly. His deep voice filled my ears and I faintly heard him say, "Fortunately, the trajectory of your life has changed." I replied with a smile, "Yes." I was so carried away by happiness that I didn't pay much attention to his words. The love story of Ethan and Chloe was making a big stir, and even the teachers knew about it. Ethan's original grades were good, but not as good as mine. The teachers also had relatively high hopes for him. The teacher talked to Ethan privately, but Ethan said, "Teacher, I know better than you what I will do in the future. I will start my own company in the future. I don't need all these things. I won't work for others." The teacher shook his head helplessly. When he saw Anya and Reese at the door, he smiled and beckoned to us. "Come in." Ethan passed by the two of us and the mockery on his face was obvious. The teacher said some words of encouragement to us and then let us leave. When we walked to the dormitory building, we happened to see Chloe. There was a boy beside Chloe and they were hugging each other. I gave Chloe a puzzled look and then left it. Back in the dormitory, I continued to prepare for starting my own business. I was pretty sure about being recommended for postgraduate study, so I wasn't too worried about it now. Suddenly, Maya pushed the door open and said, "Anya. Good news. Good news. Ethan is fighting with someone downstairs." Maya dragged me downstairs. I saw that Ethan had bruises on his face, and the boy he was fighting with was the one who had just been hugging Chloe. I could probably guess the reason for the fight. Chloe was wearing a beautiful Chanel-style dress and high heels, watching the scene as if it had nothing to do with her. Suddenly Ethan stepped forward and pulled me over. He questioned me. "It's all your fault. If you had worked to earn money for me to spend, I wouldn't be like this now. I wouldn't have been with Chloe so early. Why didn't you come on the day my mother had a car accident? If you had come, these things definitely wouldn't have happened." Even at this point, Ethan was still thinking about his love. I whispered softly in his ear, "Guess who hit your mother and fled the scene? If it weren't for me in the last life, you wouldn't have been able to get into graduate school or go abroad at all." Ethan looked at me, his eyes full of surprise. "You also came back?" I said the last sentence. It was Chloe who caused his mother's death. The person who hit and ran was Chloe. The goddess he had been longing for had killed his only relative in this world with her own hands. "You know who the hit-and-run driver in your mother's car accident was?" "It was Chloe." Ethan looked at me and then at Chloe. I was about to turn around and leave when Ethan suddenly knelt down. "Anya, please forgive me. I'm sorry." Ethan was actually an extreme egoist. He liked Chloe because she was beautiful. When he was down and out, he had an ambiguous relationship with me. He clearly knew that I lacked love in my original family, so he deliberately treated me hot and cold, making me willing to work to earn money to pay for his tuition. In his last life, he gave me flickering hopes, brainwashed me into believing that he was the only person who loved me in the world, which made me be devoted to him wholeheartedly. When he achieved success and fame, he didn't hesitate to abandon me and be with Chloe. In this life, he didn't know that he wasn't the only one who came back. Looking at his crocodile tears, I found it funny. He held my hand tightly. Suddenly, a person rushed out of the crowd and protected me as we left. It was Reese. He pulled me and kept running out of the crowd, away from those dirty rumors and gossip. Don't believe him, okay?" This proud young man seemed to be speaking to me in such a humble tone for the first time. Looking at Reese like this, I was a bit dazed for a moment. A red warning was posted on the school bulletin board. It was about Ethan. His name was on the bulletin board. The content was roughly that he had been given a demerit, and with too many failed courses his graduation would be postponed. During class, Maya sat beside me and quietly shared the news she knew. "Anya, I heard that Ethan broke the hand of Chloe's other boyfriend. They say that guy's hand is basically useless now. I don't know how angry Ethan was at that time to have such great strength. I just felt that justice had been done and that bad people got what they deserved." Ethan came to class with a dark face. It was the counselor who forced him to come. His face was gloomy and his eyes were dark. He looked really wretched. After class, he called out to me and asked if we could have a chat. I refused. He actually shouted in front of all the classmates, "Everyone stop and listen to me." A group of people surrounded us. Ethan looked at me affectionately. "I'm sorry, Anya. It was Chloe who seduced me. I don't like her." Even at this time he was still thinking about me and still blaming others for his own mistakes. Once again Reese pushed through the crowd and came to my side. "Let's go. Don't listen to his nonsense." Maya made a face at Ethan. Reese and I laughed. Maya blushed with embarrassment. We thought her action just now was really cute. The boy who was injured by Ethan was the only son in his family and came from a wealthy family. They wouldn't let Ethan off easily. The boy's parents came to the school. Some big burly men surrounded Ethan and beat him up in an alley. He was in the corner of the alley with his eyes and nose bruised. Blood was constantly flowing out of the corner of his mouth. I saw it, but I turned a blind eye. I ignored his plea for help, just like in my last life when I was scolded for being late delivering takeout and was accidentally killed while riding my bike. Ethan passed by me but didn't even call the police for me. He was secretly glad that I was dead because in his opinion I was a stain on his life. He didn't feel any gratitude towards me. He thought that with his status at that time I was no longer worthy of him. He didn't want the media to dig out that his former girlfriend was now a takeout delivery person. He thought it was shameful for me to deliver takeout, but all the money for his studies at that time was earned by me through delivering one takeout order after another. He shouted in a low voice in the corner of the alley, "Anya, Please help me. People were coming and going here. Soon someone would notice him, but I just took a look at him and left. Ethan was sent to the hospital by passers-by. He didn't even have money to pay for the treatment. He sent me a WeChat message asking to borrow money and I directly refused. Surprisingly, Ethan posted online to expose me. He said that I refused to help when he was in danger. There were also some people on the internet who cyberbullied me but was quickly suppressed. The things Ethan had done were exposed. Ethan had been using me for 3 years in college. I took screenshots of the chat records which were all about him ordering me to bring him breakfast as well as the records of my money transfers to him. The chat records were full of his manipulation of me. People in the comments section all thought he was a scumbag. Everyone began to feel sorry for me. Reese rushed to the downstairs of my dormitory in a hurry. When he saw me coming out, he breathed a sigh of relief. Under his tousled hair were a pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes. Under the street lamp he looked really youthful. He walked up to me and asked, "Do you want to go out and have fun?" I thought about it and agreed. Recently we had been busy with starting our business for a long time, so it was okay to go out and relax. I asked him where to. He said, "The amusement park." Hearing the word amusement park, it seemed that a volcano erupted in my heart. Before I died, the place I wanted to go to most was the amusement park. But to save money I didn't have time to go at all and I couldn't bear to spend that money. He directly took my hand and pulled me to run. I looked at his back as he held my hand out. He was wearing a white t-shirt and the night breeze and summer blew into his clothes making them bulge. He looked back at me and that seemingly cold and proud smile hit my heart directly. When we arrived at the amusement park it was brightly lit. He had already bought the tickets. Under the Ferris wheel he held my hand and asked, "Do you want to take a ride?" I nodded. When the Ferris wheel reached its peak we could overlook the whole city. The prosperity of the city was in full view. Reese looked down at me. I was looking at the scenery below. I heard that making a wish when the Ferris wheel reaches the top will come true. I looked at him with bright eyes. "Really?" He nodded at me. "Yes, I'm not lying to you." I put my hands together and made a wish. "I hope our business will be successful. I want to become one of the top 10 richest women on the list in Shang Jing." Hearing this, Reese smiled faintly. I looked back at him and his eyebrows slightly raised. "You definitely can." I heard a very soft voice. He said, "Then I hope you are safe every year." After graduation I gave up postgraduate study because the company that Reese and I started was doing very well. Between my studies and career I chose to focus on my career. I was too afraid of being poor. We were busy every day and he and I became the best partners. The company was getting better and better and was constantly expanding. After graduation Ethan became a takeout delivery person. He didn't get his college diploma, so many companies didn't want him. He delivered takeout to our company. I took a quick look at him and my heart was completely calmed. I was in a hurry to go to the next meeting. Suddenly he knelt on the ground crying and begging me, "Could you lend me some money?" I directly called the security guards and had them drive him out. Only then did I know that when Ethan was in college he thought he would be the president of a listed company after graduation, so he started borrowing from loan sharks, thinking that he would definitely be able to pay it back after graduation. His current debt was like a bottomless pit. The loan shark company was urging him to pay back the debt and he was hiding everywhere. Now he was as thin as a bamboo pole, as if he would be blown down by the wind. We had the intention to develop overseas business, and for overseas development someone needed to go to the new overseas company. It was New Year's Day. We were sitting in a seaside tavern. We were slightly drunk and it was exactly midnight. We went outside to watch the fireworks. The moment the fireworks exploded, the whole sky instantly became colorful and magnificent. I still felt the scorching gaze beside me. Out of the corner of my eye I saw that he was looking at me, but his eyes never dodged, always so frank. When the fireworks exploded, the crowd around us was surging and everyone was exclaiming. At this moment, while looking at the fireworks in the sky, I heard the person beside me say, "I like you." My heartbeat missed a beat. I pretended not to hear and still looked at the fireworks in the sky. It turned out that the once arrogant young man also had moments of fear. He dared to confess to me under the cover of the noise, and I dared to look at him only with the cover of the crowd because I didn't dare to love someone again. I didn't have the courage to try a new relationship again. The next day I proposed that I would go to the new overseas company. I had considered a lot. I couldn't waste my time on men. At the airport, we took a final look at each other with an unspoken understanding. The overseas company developed better and better under my leadership, and its scale grew larger and larger. When the overseas company was really on a steady development track, I returned to China. I didn't even know why I wanted to go back to China. I just felt that I shouldn't keep running away. Back then I chose to go abroad for my career and also to escape from my own feelings. I was afraid that I would repeat the same mistakes after falling in love. When I returned to China, there were a lot of media around me. The media was full of curiosity about me. They couldn't believe that a woman could achieve what I had achieved. Before I went to the overseas company, some people questioned whether I was being kept by someone. However, today I could finally fight back. Living a better life was the best way to fight back. I saw some familiar faces among the crowd. There were Reese and Ethan. Ethan was carrying takeout in his hand while Reese was holding roses in his hands. I took a look at Ethan, and then after a while he received a phone call and left in a hurry. Just now there were hardly any vehicles on the street, but when Ethan was riding his bike, a car rushed out at a high speed. He fell into a pool of blood, and this scene overlapped with the memories from before. Our life trajectories had changed. The reporters immediately discovered two big pieces of news, and the reporters around rushed to the accident scene to take pictures. Reese and I looked at each other. I took the roses from him along with a red velvet box. When the first year of college started, I saw a girl. Everyone was running towards the dormitory, but she was running into the rain with an umbrella. The rain was heavy and she was also holding a towel in her hand. I took a quick glance at her and then ran on. I saw her pick up a kitten that was on the verge of death in the rain with the towel. She was already wet herself, but she was still worried about whether the cat was injured. She held the kitten and ran back to the dormitory building with the umbrella. The next morning I found out that the girl from last night was actually in the same class as me. Her name was Anya. She didn't look in good spirits and kept sneezing. After class I went to the infirmary and bought a box of cold medicine. I thought she must have caught a cold from getting wet in the rain last night. I put the cold medicine on her desk and she smiled. She took the cold medicine and walked towards another boy. That boy's name was Ethan. She said to that boy, "Thank you for buying the medicine," and that boy actually said, "You're welcome." I knew that Anya had misunderstood. Well, a misunderstanding was a misunderstanding. It seemed that I had fallen in love with someone. That person was Anya. Anya had been very busy recently. I didn't know what she was busy with. I heard from my friends that Anya liked Ethan. I thought Ethan was a really bad person. I heard him joking with a group of people in the counselor's office saying, "Believe it or not, Anya is just a bootlicker and will leave the quota to me." I beat Ethan up. I had a feud with Ethan since then. This girl was so silly. Even though others had hurt her like this, she was still devoted to him. When I was studying abroad, I often saw Ethan walking with a girl. I thought Ethan and Anya had broken up. When I graduated and returned to China, I got the tragic news that Anya was dead. Her body was lying on the hospital bed. No one came to claim her body. I signed for her family. A person who claimed to be her family member came and said that they wanted to take her home. My assistant told me that Anya's parents wanted to marry her off in a ghost marriage. I was so angry. Anya's parents were crying in the hospital lobby. "Look, everyone. What's the use of having a daughter? My daughter died at such a young age and we can't withdraw the money from her bank card. I didn't even get her betrothal gifts before she died. Am I wrong to arrange a ghost marriage for her?" I gave her parents 100,000 yuan. She was priceless in my heart, but her parents didn't deserve her. My assistant investigated and found out that Anya's death wasn't an accident but was man-made. Ethan was afraid that the things from college would be exposed and that Anya would disrupt his relationship, so he hired someone to run her over. I started to target Ethan's company. Finally, his company went bankrupt. I was so tired that I often thought that it would have been better if I had stopped them from being together back then. When I was in front of Anya's grave, it suddenly started to rain heavily. I caught a cold. When I opened my eyes again, I was actually in the dormitory. I was reincarnated. If I could live again, I would never let the things from my previous life happen again. I wanted to protect Anya. I tried every means to get close to her. Suddenly I found that Anya had changed. She didn't like Ethan anymore. I realized that she was also reincarnated. The end.